Do you know what's cooler than knowing one language? Knowing two languages. Language is the number one method of human communication, consisting of words used in a structured and conventional way and can be shown by speech, writing, or using a gesture, and an example of a gesture using different hand movements. There are many different systems of communication and language depending on which particular country or community that a person is from. Language is just a big system of ideas and all different words, and each word has different concepts attached to them. All people hear their own language differently than what they hear with other people's languages. This is because people hear words all different ways and they say it in all different sounds, and it can just sound different. There are five main components of language, and they can be found across multiple languages. And this is a way that people can be brought together instead of just staying to their own language. There's many ways to connect people, and this is one of them. So an example of those five components are phenoms, morphemes, lexemes, syntax, and context. And some more components include grammar, semantics, and meaningful communication among different individuals. It's always important to have a meaningful communication with others because it's a really good way to get to know others and where they're from and what they're about. And so this is why it's really important to know language and to focus on it and be proficient in it. So for example, some people can speak two languages, and this is called bilingualism. Being bilingual has many advantages. For example, it can help cognitive control. It's likely that they have improved their awareness, and they can also have better memory and visual skills, and this can also help them be more creative. Another advantage is being able to communicate with more people around the world and have a lot more job opportunities. So if you speak more languages, you can work with all different people and maybe even travel for work. And knowing two languages gives people the opportunity to grow and become a more open person. I feel like you can grow and become a more open person by just hearing what others have to say and what their experiences are. But when you're learning a first and second language, it can be very different, and they can also develop at different times. For example, your first language is a language that you learn when you are young as a baby, but a second language is learned when you're a little older and a little further in life. But a first language can take longer than a second language to learn because when you're learning a first language, it starts when you're a baby. And so you are learning words as you go, and you are hearing and imitating what is around you. But when you're learning a second language, you're older, so you can learn words quicker, which leads to forming sentences quicker. Rather than when you're first learning words for your first language, it starts with like babbling and different sounds when you're a baby, and it all develops into your language and eventually create sentences. And when ELL students are learning a second language, they go through a silent period. And this silent period is actually a good thing. It gives the students an opportunity to listen and observe people around them rather than just speak. And during the silent period, ELLs benefit from opportunities to participate using different gestures, like I said earlier, like hand movements, physical movements like raising your hand, different art that they draw, different experimental activities, and then using a single word or short phrases. So they can say some small words, but it's not full sentences. When I think about learning a language and getting the benefit of learning your second language, you think of the word acquire, but there's also the word earn. And at first, these words can sound like they have a same or similar meaning when you first hear them, but when you think about it, they can actually be quite different. When a person acquires something, it can just be given to them, and they don't have to work hard from it. It can also mean they already have it, and they've owned it for a while. When someone earns something, they put in a lot of hard work in order to get it. They can work for a long time, and it can take a long time to earn it, but if a person works hard, it can be done, and it will be worth it. And a question that I have had for a while was, does a teacher have to be bilingual to teach an ELL class? And I've always wondered this because I've been interested in teaching an ELL class down the line a little bit, but I was nervous because I don't really have a second language at the time or in the moment, but I would like to learn one in the future. But I was curious with this question, and the answer to that is no. You do not have to know a second language in order to teach an ELL class. And with research, I've actually found that a lot of schools prefer the ELL students to only teach English because it gives the students an opportunity to push themselves, and they have to communicate in English all the time with the teacher. And it just gives them an opportunity to really put themselves out there in the classroom instead of just falling back on their other language. They can push themselves forward using English. So when it comes to language, there's also some different theories that we can talk about. So the first theory is the behavioral theory. And this theory centers around the idea that children are conditioned by their environment and the reinforcement of their communication. Behaviorists believe that language behaviors are learned by imitation, reinforcement, and copying adult language behaviors. The second theory is the nativistic theory. This means that a newborn baby is kind of pre-wired for language. So like they know what they want to say, they just don't know how to say it. And the semantic cognitive theory knows that, the semantic cognitive theory is the one where the baby wants to communicate, they just don't know the correct grammar. The nativistic theory, they are pre-wired, but they're not provided feedback or correctness, and they have to work it out themselves. And the last one is the social pragmatic theory. The social pragmatic theory considers communication as the basic function of language. And this starts when they are young with the baby and their caregivers, and it defines the way they speak later in life. So the way that they are taught by their caregiver is the way that they will speak later in life. But I believe the theory that is most accurate with the information we learn today and from past experiences is the behavioral theory. Children are hearing words and language happening all around them, and they will most likely pick up what they're hearing. I've also noticed kids repeating their parents when they say something, and also to learn words or sentences or phrases. I've heard many students repeat their teacher to help them memorize it better. And then when you're learning a second language, you are listening to others around you and you are imitating it. So this is why I believe that its theory is most accurate, and it can work with all ages and not just babies with their caregivers. So after learning all about language development, I realized how important it is to be proficient in language. Language helps all different people communicate, and that leads to learning more about each other. Language is all around us and is happening all the time, so why wouldn't you want to know as much as possible? I think there's so many great opportunities out there to learn different languages and to communicate with others, because it can be difficult if you don't speak the same language. There's ways to do it, but you can learn a lot about someone and get deeper in their lives, and that's a good way to just talk about the people in the world and meet so many people and have so many different job opportunities and all of that. So I hope you learned a lot about language development and ELL students and how it's different ways to learn it. All right, have a good day.